Hi there. Today we are going to talk about how to make a proper amends. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of do know about you because I think you're just like I am. And that is when I have done something wrong, I do not want to say I'm sorry most of the time. Just let's take an example of having a fight with my husband in which he has a part and I have a part, but I walk away and I know that I owe him an amends, but I really want him to come to me first. How about you? I think that's pretty universal. Or I want to say, sorry about that, when I haven't said what I did, I haven't said how it hurt him or anything. It's just pathetic. And I know you've done the same thing. I know you have. I know we all do it. And it's just not good enough. We really need to take this on seriously in our relationships, all of them, whether you're talking about your boss or your mother or father or sisters or husband, children, everybody, friends. We have got to take this on, know when we need to, and confront our egos enough to say, nope, you're not getting away with it this time. I am going to make a proper amends so that I can move forward in a clean way. So, are you convinced? Well, if so, then I can tell you how. This is found, the tool is found in Beth Green's book, Living with Reality, Who We Are, What We Could Be, How We Get There. And I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. But for now, let's move ahead and practice the 5 steps of how to make a proper amends. The first step is to say what you did succinctly and thoroughly. And let's say in that fight I was telling you about earlier with my husband that I ended up saying, just leave me alone at the end of it. Well, I know that that was wrong and I know that that was mean, but it's not enough just to say, I realize now that I said leave me alone. I want to also think about it, because that's a really important part of this process, is you want to think about exactly what you did and exactly the nature of what you said. So let's take that for example. I said, just leave me alone. And what I was doing was pushing him away and rejecting him and separating from him. So that's really the nature of the the behavior that I want to make amends for, is that when I say just leave me alone, I really am separating, pushing him away, and rejecting him. So the first step is to say the person's name, and then you say, I realize now. So let's take this example. Richard, I realize now that I said just leave me alone. And I know that that was rejecting and pushing you away and separating from you. And I don't say, and I did it because you did blah, 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 which is what the ego tells us to do, doesn't it? So none of that. You just say your part. So I said, just leave me alone, and that was pushing him away, rejecting him, and separating. So you say that. Richard, I was rejecting you, pushing you away, and separating from you when I said just leave me alone. Okay, the second part is that I am now going to do a very thoughtful and thorough list of how that might have injured or damaged him. And so the second part is, and I know that hurt you by making you feel rejected, separate, attacked, put down, left alone, maybe insecure about my love for you, that I'll just walk away whenever I'm mad and leave you. And maybe you have a real fear of being left. And so I'm actually attacking you at the very most vulnerable spot that I can. And I know if you, again, if you really look at it honestly, with scrupulous honesty about yourself, that most of us choose to attack our partners and other close people in the very way that we know that it'll hurt them the most. So we often have to make amends for that very thing when we're making an amends. And then if I think about it, made you feel unloved, and I go on until I cannot think of anything else. And then I ask my husband in this case, is there any other way that it hurt you? And I listen very carefully to what he has to say. And let's say he said it makes him feel betrayed and belittled. And so then I repeat that. So it made you feel betrayed and belittled. And I keep asking him, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Until he can't think of anything else. And then you've done a thorough step 2 in this amends process. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the most important step, because it lets the person that you've hurt know that you are taking this very seriously and that you have been very thoughtful and thorough in your willingness to say exactly how you've hurt them. And the third step is also very important because it's the compassion step, the step of compassion for ourselves. And it is, and even though I couldn't have done any better at the time, and you may or may not agree with that, but it's a way of having real compassion for ourselves. And the step 4, because this amends is for us. So I say, I need to ask you to forgive me. Now, why do I say it that way? Because I'm the person that needs the amends. I need to make the amends to clean up my side of the street. And then the 5th step is, will you forgive me, Richard? And you're asking for their forgiveness. Now, they may or may not forgive you, and that's a separate issue, because this amends is not made just to get them to forgive you so you can hurry on and fix things up and have everything okay again. That's just like the same thing. If you have that attitude, it's just like saying, sorry, are you sorry too? Let's just pretend everything's okay. So you can't expect the other person to forgive you. They may take some time to do so. They may never forgive you. But you are going to feel better because you were cleaning up your own side of the street. So that's it. You say the person's name and you say, I realize now that I have, and you really get to the core of what you did that was mean or hurtful. And the second step is, and I know that hurt you by making you feel X, Y, and Z, and then asking them if they have anything to add. And the third step is, and even though I couldn't have done any better. 4th is, I need to ask you to forgive me. And 5th is, will you forgive me? And the person's name. So I know that this is going to change your life. If you will commit to using this step, you really will find a big, big difference in your relationships. And you won't just be pretending to move on to feeling better and having the status quo or the peace in the household again. You actually will have peace in the household again if you use this step. Now, very often after you've made your amends, the other person will also realize that they owe you an amends, especially in the case of a conflict or a fight. But whether or not they do make that amends in that moment, don't use that as an opportunity then to continue bashing that person and saying, oh, well, I'm all righteous and, I made my amends and you won't make yours. That defeats the whole purpose. You have to stay with your own behavior and feel peaceful and calm because you did the right thing, and just have that be your reward. So I told you I would tell you more about the book at the end of the video, and I just want to say that you can get this book and many, many other resources offered by Beth Green at her website. I hope you'll use this in good faith, and I know it'll change your life. Thank you for listening.